know that this is actually happens. It's
This,
real.
To your seat. Find out more at
Time to go over to our man at the movies, Collie McFadden, with the latest from Eclipse Cinemas in Bundoran. You're going to scare the living daylights out of me with this one. First off, 28 years later, are you?
I am, but I'm going to make up for it by mentioning something really sweet later. But this is yeah. There's no two ways around it.
All right.
This is fairly freaky at times, but I was thinking about that, and especially when we were chatting off air, because
Yeah,
something special about the 28 series. There was the
series.
first one with Killian Murphy all those years ago, kind of reinvented the zombie genre. But even at that one, it was terrifying. The way the zombies ran out. Technically, they're not zombies; they're alive. That's one of the differences in the other horrors. It's a virus, but the
Yeah,
people are still alive. But it was a really the bad guys, like all of these movies, were actually some of the humans, and that was the whole story about it. And really, it's the one that made Killian, an interesting actor to start on his way to stardom. And then or last year we got 28 years later, and again the trailer blew my mind. But when we went to see the movie, it was something really different. It was a really clever movie about a young lad who'd grown up only knowing this world. He'd
yeah.
never experienced the outside world, and his family would tell him about it. And but things like doctors were a mythical creature, and he's kind of he goes on a quest to meet this doctor, and that's pretty much the start of the first one, and it's really good. And then at the end, he meets these strange characters, all dressed like there's no two ways about it, like Jimmy Savile, right? And that really threw everyone off at the end of the last movie. And in that time that we've been waiting for this second movie, and this movie was made more or less at the same time by a different director, so that's why there hasn't been a long wait to get to
Okay.
this chapter. The the young lad has been adopted by this sort of gang, and it's very like a Clockwork Orange sort of gang. They're walking around causing crime, and in this world, of course, it was about 2002 when this virus happened. So that sort of life, Jimmy Savile and other characters weren't exposed to what we know now. And there's loads of comments about stuff that you could take into being about Russia, about America right now. That, oh, all of this is over. This would never happen again because in their world, the zombies took over and it didn't. Now, I'm getting very serious. So let's move on to, is it good or not? It's great, Jamie. It's really
Good.
full on. It's odd, but I think a couple of people who were disappointed with the last one said, "Oh, but it's not a horror movie. I just wanted to see like chasing and zombies and stuff." This is the same. There's some fairly gruesome bits. I did look away two or three times during this movie, and there's a
That's
couple
gruesome.
that
If you looked away.
I was really scared about.
Yeah.
But it's much more a psychological drama about the nature of, I suppose, evil. And again, they've all of these zombies around them, but I suppose that's like being dropped in the middle of the jungle. The animals aren't doing anything wrong. That's just what the way they do. It's the people who are hunting you there. That's where
Right.
the evil lies. It's brilliant. Ray Fiennes, I'm not sure he's ever been better. And like, I'm including things like Schindler's List and stuff like that. But that was very much within his comfort zone. In this movie, he acts in a way I never thought, and he's really funny in it. And he has this relationship with this giant zombie called Samson that we know from the first movie. And he keeps on drugging him and talking to him. And it's laugh out loud funny. And then the bad stuff happens, and you're going, holy moly! And there's a bit at the end, and some of our listeners will already know the spoilers, but I'm not going to hear it here. Say it here, but Danny Boyle, who's behind these movies, and they're all written by the same guy. So even though it's a different director, it's very much all part of the same plan. Said, look, we want to make a third one, but we have to wait and see if the first two make any money. Please, people, go and see the second one because I have to see the third one because the ending of it, you're just going, oh wow. And it's some of the people will know the secret, but I didn't. And I go, oh, come on. Cannot wait for the next one. If you want to see a really intelligent movie that makes you wince, this is the one. If you want just fun, silly horror, screams out in a couple of weeks. But this is like a smart, intellectual movie. People who loved Hamlet last week could love this movie, even though it's so different in its
Yeah,
visuals
yeah,
and
yeah.
its
Well,
grimness.
last week you were crying in the cinema. This week you were scared out of the living
I
daylights out of
scared
you.
out the living daylights out of me, but excited, but laughed. And one of the
Yeah.
things And the reason we're not playing a clip this week, we're going to play a clip of the next movie, is because the trailer is brilliant and it's incredibly visual, but it doesn't tell you what happened. So I went in to watch this movie. I haven't seen the trailers, all the trailers, because that's part of my job. I had no idea where it was going, and I was totally surprised where
It
it was
doesn't tell
going.
you, yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a lot of 1980s music in it as part of the plot, and I was going, I was not expecting that. Very good. It's a
Okay.
very good
Okay.
movie.
Okay. Well, Ralph Fiennes, if like you, anything he's in, he's just brilliant. He
Yeah.
is. I think he's great.
And if he does
Now,
something like this, Shamey, you said it off air. If he does something like this, you know it's a bit more interesting than just like a silly zombie movie.
oh yeah, because I mean, he's getting scripts all the time. And he
Yeah.
can go, no, not going to do that. Going to do that. Now, something totally different. The Rental Family, and the only thing I'll say about this, it is set in Japan,
It is set in Japan.
and Japan is kind of the place now, isn't it? Everybody wants to go to Japan on holidays.
Yeah, absolutely. Asia is the number one place. You know, Japan and Korea, young people now look to that, look at K-pop Demon Hunters. And this is a story about it. Fellow, we're going to explain with the clip, but it is a commonplace thing where people rent family members. You have somebody come to mourn at your funeral or come to, meet your parents, pretend to be your boyfriend or girlfriend.
Is this for real?
This is a for real thing.
Can I rent you? No.
Yeah, for the right price. But it is for it's very culturally different. Let's play the clip and we'll talk a little bit more about it.
We sell emotion.
How?
We play roles in clients' lives. Parents, siblings, boyfriends, girlfriends, best friends, and help them connect to what's missing.
I'm just an actor. I don't know how to help people.
What I'm offering here is a chance to play roles with real meaning.
What do you need me for?
We need a talking white guy.
We need a talking white guy.
Great line.
I can't believe I didn't know that this is actually happens. It's real.
This actually happens. Now I don't know how much in the story, for exaggerated stuff like where he has to pretend to be one child's dad, another one he's pretending to be a husband for this woman who's actually in a same-sex relationship, and he's pretending to be the husband for it. How much of that, or is it just like stand-ins? People who aren't sure if there's lots of people going to turn up at their funeral, hire people to turn up. But it is, and there's a great bit in it where he says you could live in Japan for 20 years and not understand us, because it is a very different culture, rather than it's not just language or music or food. So I went into this not long after seeing 28 years later, right? So it's talk about like a handbrake turn, but it's absolutely lovely movie. And they couldn't have cast anyone better than Brendan Fraser. Even when he was a young fella, he has this lovely, open, sad, almost dopey face. But I mean that in a complimentary way, as an innocent. So you believe when he's trying his best to play this role, you actually believe that he can do it.
Yeah. Well, he came from the Mummy. Isn't that where he came from?
Yeah, he came from the Mummy, and he's coming back to the Mummy. We're getting a fourth Mummy.
Oh,
They're still incredibly popular movies, incredibly popular. But he was always and even back to like George of the Jungle and stuff, where he was playing like an innocent Tarzan figure. And he's this actor, and he's trying his best to do the right thing, but doesn't know where to draw the line. It's very sweet. It is a wee bit sentimental. There's a bit of American stuff in it. But you know what? Because it's him, I was so happy to go with it. I believed him all the time. And I believed that he was trying to do his best, even when he messes up. It's a very sweet and lovely movie. I think people
do you think he's playing himself in it?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
He looks, he always had this impression he was missing from Hollywood for a good few years until he came back and won the Oscar. But there's always this element of he wasn't tough enough for Hollywood, for the backbiting in Hollywood. People always had this idea. There's something about him makes people want to protect him. There just has that look on his face.
He's just a nice guy, isn't he? He's
just a nice guy. And there's a great line in it where he tells the little girl who he's pretending to be her dad, says, well, I'm part Irish. And she goes, oh, that means I'm part Irish. That's so cool. And I was in the cinema going, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is.
Like that.
It's a lovely.
Right, we've something for the kids now before we head off. Miss Moxie and cat lovers will love this at a certain age.
This is actually better than I thought it was, because I thought it was going to be one of these sort of only for the under fives, but I saw a good bit of this today, and it's actually quite funny. It is story of a very spoiled, pampered cat. I believe there's a Netflix series somewhere involved here. Very pampered cat who's used to the good life, and she's kidnapped and finds herself in the middle of Europe, and she has to make her way home, and she meets a gang of friends, including like the stupid dog that she hates, and they team up. And so it's kind of a buddy movie, except for say under eights, under nines, and it is quite funny and witty and kind of inspired by a true story of this cat that was catnapped and turned up at the house 10 years later. Although with cats, you wouldn't know if it was catnapped or just wandered off for a while.
It's
Just to
the
see
cat version of A Thousand Damnations, it is it?
that kind of that, but it's very sweet. And it's been a while since we've had a good kids movie, and this one's quite good. I like this one. Yeah.
All right. You're bringing back Ellen McKay as your Missed It Monday.
Mr.
You
Monday,
like this?
I did like this, but it was very much missed. Now, part of that was came out at probably the wrong time around Christmas, and the housemaid kind of blew it out of the water. But it's a really warm, friendly. So like this and Rental Family would make a lovely double bill because they're both warm hugs of a movie about a young woman who finds herself the governor, but except for her family, who just cause problem after problem. If you like stuff like As Good as It Gets, or Broadcast News, or The West Wing, this is a movie for you. It mightn't be quite as good as those, but it's a lovely movie for a Monday night, and only $5.50. You can't go.
$5.50. That's Ellen McKay, and that'll be on as Missed It Monday.